I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, to end our set of 10 for this 2-week period, we're going to do a request by our friend Aaron, who has requested Neutral Milk Hotel's 1998 wonderful and genre-defining, music world-changing album, In the Aeroplane Over the Sea. What an album. I've loved this album for several years now. 4 or 5 years I've been listening to this. Tom's just recently gotten into it. This album, Tom, you pointed out, this album makes the Decemberists possible, hugely influential. You were just saying how you think that this has influenced the next 15 years of music and is still, like, meaning it's still
setting the pace,
absolutely,
for the indie world. And it kind of not only set the pace, but almost physically created the indie world that's out there right now, because I mean it's kind of this congregation of artists that this band is.
Bands like
from the Elephant Six kind of recording collective, including Rob Schneider of Apples and Stereo is a huge part of this of the making of this album. People from Olivia Tremor Control, those folks down in Georgia, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. And not to just mention, but just Neutral Milk Hotel and this album in particular, plus, Built to Spill and Pavement, really set the scene that's going on right now, 13 years later, and will continue to do so. But what this album sounds like, I mean, there's a lot of acoustic guitar in here, but this is not an acoustic album. It's very rock-oriented, and this album is a musical. It plays through like a musical. It's a concept album. There's a story behind it. Not World War II time. Anne Frank, we think, a little related. Stuff like that. We'll let you get into the lyrics, which are fantastic. We're not going to sit here and quote lyrics for you, but they're fantastic, so check those out. I've linked them up down there. But overall, just a really moving conceptual experience that I find to just be great. What do you think this sounds like? I mean, The Decemberists is a really good call.
It really only sounds like stuff that's come after it, which just shows how hugely influential it was.
Great point.
It's one of those albums that, even though I like it a lot, it's very good. It's almost more influential than it is good, which isn't downplaying how good it is. It's just upplaying how influential it is.
Lacey,
Jesse
Lacey from Brand New, a band that's been pretty huge in the 2000s with 4 albums, but he cites one of his greatest influences as Neutral Milk Hotel and says that this is one of the greatest albums of all time.
They've covered some of these songs.
Oh, absolutely. And if their album Deja and Tendu ends the same way that this album ends, with the guy just getting up and walking away. It's kind of an acoustic song, and this album closes by saying you just get up and leave, and the guy just gets up and leaves. And that's how Brand New and Jesse Lacey ends their album, Deja and Tendu. Obviously huge influence, and they're not even in the same real style but you can totally tell that he's picking up influence from this. What a dynamic album. And really what gets me about it, Tom, is that this album, the songwriting is so perfect and so wonderful. They just know exactly what to do. It never gets stale, but it's not what they're playing, it's how they're playing it that just makes it so emotional at the same time as just being orally pleasing. I just can't get enough of it. And most fans feel that way. They're very passionate about this album. And
it's easy to be passionate about when you can tell they were so passionate about making it. And I love the duality between the very folksy, real acoustic guitar, and then just the noisy as shit, just
one album or one band that takes a lot of influence from this, the Arcade Fire.
Yeah, I totally see that, which is the nice acoustics, very, very pleasant, and then you've just got these just in-your-face rock-out parts that are just hugely powerful. Also, one thing that really helps tie this together, as you were saying, kind of making this musical feel, musical as in like a play, are these kind of in-between tracks, these shorter tracks. The Fool, Untitled, which actually, that one's a lot more bombastic and big than the other ones. Communist Daughter, even though that has lyrics in it, it still operates in the same way as kind of a segue between two of the larger ideas. And I mean, that goes right into Oh Comely, which is just like 8-minute huge thing, very Decemberist sounding.
And the beauty of this album is that while you can pick out certain tracks and listen to those on their own, and they hold up as tracks or individual songs, really this is an album experience. So that duality is just wonderful. I love it when you can find an album like that.
Yeah.
This is going to get a high score for me because it has all the things that I'm looking for. Not quite perfect because for some reason I haven't just latched onto it as much as I'd like. But I've noted to Tom, and I love that I like this I started listening to this in early 2007, and I've liked it every single time I've listened to it since then, and I come back to it on a regular basis. So, a very good album. Pick tracks. Track 4, Two-Headed Boy. Track 6, Holland 1945. Amazing song, just completely bombastic and fun. Track 7, Communist Daughter, and track 8, Oh Come Lay.
I'm going to pick the first 2 tracks, King of Carrot Flowers Part 1, King of Carrot Flowers Parts 2 to 3. I really like the way the acoustic guitar works with the vocals, especially when the first thing you hear the acoustic guitar, and then there's just 2 sets of vocals that are very split-panned. And it's really weird, kind of Elliott Smith-ish.
Yes.
And then, other than those 2 tracks, I really liked Holland 1945, track 6, and Oh Comely, track 8.
Fantastic. Those are the clear standouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like every track on this album.
Yeah, there's not a weak track at all.
This album's strong, and we were talking about what we were going to give this before, and I got to tell you that I'm even going to go higher because
Do it.
I love this album, and I'll probably continue to like it more and more. I'm going to go 95.
95?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 88.
88. But very, very highly recommended. Great request, Aaron. So tell us what you think about Neutral Milk Hotel and its other bands that might have been influenced by Neutral Milk Hotel. Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com. But that wraps up In the Airplane Over the Sea, a wonderful, majestic concept album. It's fantastic stuff. You gotta listen to this. You gotta do it. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.